You close the app after posting something, not because you're done with it, because checking too soon feels embarrassing. A few minutes later, your hand reaches for your phone almost on its own. You don't even unlock it immediately. You just stare at the screen for a second, as if delaying whatever answer is waiting on the other side. Then you open the app. A few new likes, maybe none. You tell yourself it doesn't matter. You lock the phone again. An hour later, you check anyway. What's strange is that this little ritual doesn't only happen online. It happens after sending a message, after sharing an opinion, even after telling a joke. Part of you quietly wonders how it landed inside someone else's mind. Not because you desperately need attention, because being seen has always carried a kind of uncertainty. But then you meet someone who seems completely different. They create remarkable work and barely mention it. They disappear from social media for weeks without explanation. They don't seem interested in collecting followers, proving themselves, or becoming the person everyone recognizes. At first, it looks like confidence. Then another pattern starts appearing. Some of these people don't reject fame because they're above it. They simply don't organize their lives around being witnessed. That difference sounds small, but maybe it changes almost everything. Psychologists sometimes describe human motivation as moving in different directions. One kind pushes us toward external rewards, status, approval, recognition. Another grows from something quieter, curiosity, mastery, or the satisfaction of doing something simply because it feels meaningful. Both exist in almost everyone. The interesting question isn't which one is better, it's which one quietly becomes the center of your identity. Because once recognition becomes the goal, something subtle begins to happen. You stop asking, "Do I like this?" You start asking, "Will people notice this?" The activity hasn't changed. The audience has. But that isn't the strange part. Researchers eventually noticed something called the over-justification effect. Sometimes, introducing external rewards into something you already enjoy can slowly weaken the original enjoyment itself. It's as if your brain quietly rewrites the reason you're doing it. Think about the hobby that slowly became content, the journal that became something to post, the walk that somehow needed a photo. Nothing looks different from the outside, yet the experience feels strangely thinner. Maybe that's why some people seem almost protective of anonymity. Not because they hate attention, because attention changes the relationship between them and the thing they love. Still, that explanation doesn't quite hold. There are people who genuinely enjoy recognition without becoming trapped by it, and there are people who claim they don't care about fame while secretly measuring themselves against everyone they know. So perhaps the real difference isn't whether someone enjoys being seen, it's whether they need to be seen to believe they're real. Psychologists have another way of thinking about this. They talk about something called self-determination. The idea is surprisingly simple. Human beings tend to feel psychologically healthier when three needs are present: autonomy, competence, and connection. Notice what's missing: recognition. Recognition can feel wonderful. It can even open doors. But it doesn't reliably satisfy those deeper needs. Sometimes it only distracts from them. Maybe that's why applause has such a short lifespan. The moment fades, then the mind quietly asks for another. What makes this even stranger is that fame often promises certainty. If enough people admire me, we imagine, maybe I'll stop questioning myself. But admiration and self-understanding aren't the same thing. Someone can know your face without knowing you. And sometimes after enough attention, even you begin performing for an audience that isn't actually there. You catch yourself imagining how a moment would look before you fully lived it. That's a difficult habit to notice, because it doesn't always feel like vanity. Sometimes it feels like preparation, or responsibility, or simply staying relevant. Yet the result can be the same. Life slowly shifts from being experienced to being observed. Maybe that's why some of the most quietly fulfilled people seem almost invisible. Not because they failed to attract attention, but because they never treated attention as proof that their life was happening. This probably isn't true for everyone. Some people genuinely dream of being famous, and there's nothing inherently shallow about that. Recognition can amplify meaningful work. It can create opportunities that would never exist otherwise. The problem may begin when recognition quietly replaces meaning instead of serving it. And that's a replacement that's easy to miss, because from the outside, success and significance often wear the same face. So maybe the people who don't care much about fame aren't resisting attention at all. Maybe they've simply found something that attention can't improve. The next time you reach for your phone after sharing a piece of yourself, it might be worth noticing what you're really waiting for. Not the notification, the feeling you hope arrives with it. And if that feeling never fully stays, maybe the mystery was never about fame in the first place. And maybe that's why conversations like this matter more than quick answers. If this made you notice something about the way you move through your own life, then you're exactly the kind of person I make these videos for. There are more questions like this waiting here, about the mind, human behavior, and the quiet patterns we rarely stop to examine. So if you'd like to keep exploring them, consider subscribing. Until next time, pay attention to the things you're chasing and the reasons you're chasing them.